I messaged on Monday or Tuesday. I remember all I do, I type in time in Boston, and then it pops up obviously East Coast time, and we're What's happening, guys? In honor of the greatest day of the year coming up this Friday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, obviously. We're offering up a huge discount over at WagerTalk right now to get my 30-day all-access pass for only $5.90 per day. That's every play across every sport, including all 5% top plays as well. So use code LUCKY, L-U-C-K-Y, LUCKY at checkout to take advantage of that special offer, which knocks a massive $122 off the regular price. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. Make sure and stock up on the Guinness and Jameson ahead of Friday. And until next time, as always, Slán Abhaile.
Happy Thursday, guys. Welcome to WagerTalk TV and Stoppage Time. I am Carmine Bianco. Champions League is done. We now know who our 8 quarterfinalists are. The draw is tomorrow, I believe, where we'll find out. There's going to be some absolutely great pairings in the quarterfinal round, and then we will know who will play who should they advance into the semifinals. This is looking and shaping up to be an absolutely fantastic tournament, but we still got some quarterfinal spots available today in Europa League. And with me to discuss it are Bryan Power and Kevin Dolan from Wager Talk, and we're waiting on Pavlos. I think Pavlos is having some daylight savings time difficulties there. He's in Europe. They don't have it. And I think he may have misjudged the show time, even though we warned him. But with that said, guys, welcome to the show. And you might be putting in some double duty. I might be asking you guys for some opinions on the games that Pavlos is supposed to be covering today. But Brian, how was your night?
Well, obviously, it's Thursday, day before St. Patrick's Day, NCAA tournament, just a couple hours from getting underway. and it's been a great run in college hoops. Unfortunately, midweek on the pitch was not so good. The last 2 days we had 2 losses. One of them just, I don't know, I may have to ask the producers to burn the tape with that Leipzig situation. They weren't getting 7.5, were they, Carm? Nope. But we had 2 unfortunate pushes as well with Porto and with Brighton yesterday, laying 1. I thought it was worth a chance to lay the juice on Brighton. I was confident that they'd win, but they did not. But onward and upward, big days scheduled, big 2 days coming up in the NCAA tournament. All my plays locked and loaded. You can head over to my page at WagerTalk.com to get that right now. I am passing on soccer today, a heads up, but I really like, even though the card's much smaller tomorrow, I think there's 2 domestic league games I'll have up, and that big weekend as well. So keep an eye out for that.
Listen, that game, it was the good and the bad for me. Listen, the bad is obviously I had the total in that one and not the right total, the incorrect total, the under. I just thought Leipzig could probably hold them at bay for a while. I just couldn't see them getting over that number. And I didn't think Leipzig would score. So it was just a matter of whether City was going to get 4 to beat me on the total. They more than did that. Holland by himself more than did that. But I'd rather lose these plays early than sweat them out late and lose them late. I always talk about one time in Europa League where it was I had under 2.5 in a game with Apple Nicosia, and it is 0-0 after 90 minutes. They put up the sign on the side, 7 minutes of extra time or injury time. And Nicosia scores 3 goals in 7 minutes of injury time to completely destroy that over. Those are the ones that hurt more than losing 7-0. The good part of yesterday's game was that I have a futures bet, and my clients do a 4% play on Erling Haaland to win the top goal scorer in Champions League. And those 5 goals yesterday put him squarely atop of it with 10. Mo Salah, who was next at 8, is gone. We also know Mbappe and Messi are gone. So if he continues, I think he probably only needs 2 or 3 more goals, I would think. And that sort of solidifies that one. Kev, how are things with you?
Yeah, all good, Carmine. That was a fine-looking promo in the lead-up to the show, I have to say. Who was that handsome devil leading us in? But I had a bit of a frustrating night in the card last night, in all honesty. Went 3-1 in NBA, so obviously a nice night, positive night. But I think we've all been there on this show before at one time or another. While I'm happy with the 3-1, the one loser was the 5%. So I was raging about that, puts a bit of a dampener on things. But, no complaints overall. Went 4-2 last night. The other loser actually was on that Liverpool over. I did expect more goals than that, but we got it back in hockey. And, we'll look to get right back at it heading into Thursday's card as well.
Yeah, listen, those nights happen. Like, obviously, your all-access customers, your NBA customers are happy with an overall profit. When you go 3-1, those days happen. It happened to me once, which is why it's always fresh in my mind. But a year back on a Saturday morning EPL card or Saturday morning card, and 7 plays, 6 4% plays, all win for 24 units profit. The 5% play loses, and I think someone tweeted at me to step in front of a train. I couldn't believe the comments you get, and it's just bad. You want to win them, and I think, but at the end of the day, we need to understand that this is a long-term game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. With that said, hopefully Pavlos is sprinting from wherever he is right now over to his computer to get on the show. But this is what we're going to discuss today on today's show. We're going to do a couple of Europa League games. We're going to do the Freiburg Juventus game that goes at 1:45 Eastern time. Of course, because of the daylight savings, those are games that normally would be at 12:45. We're going to do Arsenal and Sporting, a very exciting leg 1 that finished in a 2-2 draw. And then we're going to switch to domestic leagues. And because there's some FA Cup games and not a lot of interesting EPL games, we're going to go to some other leagues. We are going to do the Roma Derby, Lazio and Roma on Sunday even though there is the Italian derby, which is Inter and Juventus, we're already talking about Juventus. We don't need to talk about them twice in one show. So we're doing Lazio and Roma, and we are going to do El Clasico, Barcelona and Real Madrid. You cannot have a show with having this game on it if it is being played. So let's kick it off, guys. Let's go to the Freiburg Juventus game that goes at 1:45 p.m. today. And myself and Brian will look at this one. Odds on this one, Freiburg at home, plus 221. The draw is also plus 221. Juventus plus 137. Those are the openers. There haven't been much movement whatsoever on this. I think the current line on WagerTalk Live Lines is plus 135 on Juventus, so minimal movement, if any. Just some talking points for me. If you watched leg one of this one, and of course I did, the score line doesn't justify how the game was played. The final XG numbers on this one were 2.04 for Juventus, 0.05 for Freiburg, who had one attempt on goal, no shots on goal. Juventus, 20 attempts, 6 shots on goal. They left it on the field, and this is a game where hopefully they don't regret only winning 1-0 in that one. But when you look at them against German opposition, they only lost one of their last 9 games against German opposition. And after winning leg one of a 2-leg tie, they have gone on to 9 straight. They have advanced 9 straight times after winning leg one, which is obviously the scenario at play here. The lineups are going to be pretty much the same, with the exception of Juventus will not have Di Maria in the starting lineup. He will likely be on the bench. He traveled with the team after an injury and fitness a check on him. Him and Chiesa will be available. They traveled with the team. They'll be available on the bench if needed, but it'll be the same lineup with the exception of Di Maria in the lineup. And I just think this is Juventus's game to lose. I think Freiburg is going to be a little bit better in this game than they were. There's no way they couldn't be any worse than they were in leg one. And I think we're going to see some goals in this one. The total is a low total at 2, minus 130 to the over. And I think we see at least a couple goals in this one. So at the very least, we're going to get a push on this, but I think we get over that total of 2. So I will take over 2, minus 130 as my lean in this game. Bri, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, this is actually one of the hardest matches I think that I've had to break down. I really struggled with this one, Carm, but you brought up just how dominant Juventus was in that first leg. They should have won by more, obviously with that 20-1 shot differential. Freiburg should be considered itself very fortunate to only be down 1-0 on aggregate heading into the second leg. And guys, Freiburg is going to probably hang its hat on the fact that they're unbeaten in their last 11 matches at home across all competitions. But it's not just the first leg here of this tie that they've had trouble scoring. Just 14 goals in 11 matches since we turned the calendar to 2023. And I thought they were a little lucky to beat Hoffenheim over the weekend, 2-1. I watched the end of that. There was a red card, and the game winner comes right after. Only created 0.45 XG did Freiburg, so a lucky 3 points in the league over the weekend. Juventus, a little concerning. They let a 2-goal lead slip away against Sampdoria, but they rally back to win 4-2. And they've only lost once in the last 10 matches, as you know, Carm, across all competitions, and that was a 1-0 loss to Roma, a side that I know I have a great deal of respect for, and I know a lot of folks, other folks do as well. Juventus has just been better in the Europa League than they were in the Champions League. You mentioned Di Maria's fitness. I think that is kind of key. He has 4 goals in these last 2 Europa League matches, most shots of any player since the knockout stage began. But I just think Juventus is better. You mentioned the history. Carm, you'd have to go all the way back to 2010 in the Europa League to find the last time they failed to advance, went up on aggregate after the first leg. And that 9-match win streak against German clubs, they haven't even conceded in any of the last 3. And you look at where these teams are at in their respective domestic leagues. Juventus, I know they're hoping that a, quote, procedural issue is going to overturn that 15-point deduction. We will wait and see about that. They can't rely on it happening. I know they'd be second in Serie A if not for that 15-point deduction. But the Europa League is kind of it, right? I mean, that's their path to the Champions League for next season. Whereas you look at Freiburg, I don't think anyone thinks they're going to win the Europa League, but they are a contender for top 4 in the Bundesliga. I think maybe it wouldn't be the worst thing if they dropped out of this competition and just focused on finishing top 4 over in Germany. I'll lay the juice here as just insurance in case we do end up in a draw, but I do not see Juventus losing. I was tempted to take the draw plus 220, but Juventus draw no bet is the official lean for today, Carm, on this match. They will move on. I do not believe we see added time today.
I certainly hope so, Brian. Brian, and from everything I've seen, you were talking about the 15 points for Juventus. From everything I've seen, as it's now before the courts, is that there's a very good possibility that it's going to get overturned. The original, not that we need to talk about the original case, all charges were dropped against all the Italian teams involved, and then the prosecutor went after Juventus with no new evidence and assigned that points deduction, which apparently, according to the courts, you cannot do. So that's why it's before a new magistrate. But we'll see. That's unimportant here. You can't bet on it. So we need something that you can bet on. And what we can bet on is the next game, which is Arsenal and Sporting, which also goes today. And the odds on this one, Arsenal minus 257. The draw is plus 398. Sporting is plus 703. Kev, Pavlos obviously isn't around right now, and he's supposed to break this down for you. So I'm going to make a couple points on this. If Brian wants to jump in at some point, he can as well too. But this League One in Lisbon finished 2-2. A very exciting game in that one. So everything's still to play for here for this Arsenal team. Now, normally you worry about a team like Arsenal because they obviously, with their domestic league fixtures, you're worried about the fact that they still are on top of the Premier League, and you're worried about whether a player or two rests. Given the first leg result of 2-2, they're not going to rest any players in this one. I can't see much turnover, if any. And on the weekend, they play in 3 days' time, and they are at home, so there's no travel, and they'll be playing Crystal Palace, who have yet to score in their last. Well, they haven't scored in their last 4 games. You have to go back 5 games to find a 1-1 draw and a goal scored for them. So that is probably where Arsenal can rest some of the players who played today on the weekend. So I'm not really worried about what their lineup looks like here. I'm leaning to the Arsenal team total here. I think they get over that 1.5 here. And this likely goes over the total. Gav, I'm going to throw it to you. Give me your thoughts on this Arsenal one. Is this a straightforward one, or can Sporting play the role of spoilers?
I believe it's going to be fairly straightforward. Carmine, Sporting obviously a bit unfortunate in that first leg. That deflected goal at the end for Arsenal. They could have got the win, Lisbon, but, I sent out in the stoppage time group chat, was it last month during Arsenal's game against Villa, that, here we go again. Jenga Arsenal are back. They'd lost to City twice. They'd lost to Everton. They drew against Brentford. Looked like the wheels were coming off the train, winless in 4 straight. And it nearly looked, they were well on their way to their fifth straight winless game, I should say, as well. Before they got another deflected shot in off Martinez's back from Jorginho's long-range effort late on, was at the 93rd minute. And how pivotal might that shot have been? That might have saved Arsenal's season, because, they've looked a rejuvenated side, pretty much ever since. So, since then it's been 4 wins from 5 for the Gunners. The only side to hold them across that run, is the Sporting Lisbon side. But, across their other 4 wins, they've outscored opponents by an 11-2 margin. And they've netted an average of 3.5 goals per game at home across that run as well. So, bar an experimental lineup against Brighton in the League Cup back in November, Arsenal have only lost once in North London to any team across any competition this year. That was Manchester City. And obviously, we talked about it at the top of the show. We don't need any reminder of what, City are capable of after Tuesday night's display. And, but beyond City, Arsenal have been perfect at home. Swept the group stage at home in this competition earlier in the season as well. Not only won every game in the group stage at home, they didn't even allow a single goal either. So I have Arsenal winning this game. I believe they'll win it fairly comfortably tonight, to be honest. 2-0, 3-1 type of, ballpark scoreline in my mind. As I do think there's a fairly sizable gulf between where these two teams are at, as well as Sporting played at home in the first leg. I do think we see the teams separate here. And as well as that, Sporting have some notable absences due to suspension ahead of this game as well. So, Arsenal for me to get the job done tonight. I think they'll do it by margin over at the Emirates. So, Arsenal minus 1.25 for me.
All right. Kevin Dolan, WagerTalk. Kev, excellent breakdown, and I love it. That first leg in Lisbon that we talked about, it had everything you could ask for, with the exception of maybe a red card. Everything there. You look at the XG numbers, 224 to 219 for Arsenal. So the score line pretty much lined up with what the XG numbers were. 24 attempts on goal between the two teams, 13 shots on goal. It was, if you're a purist and you love those 1-0 games, that wasn't the game for you. If you're one who loves some scoring and watching the teams go up and down the field, that was the game for you. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that today as well too. So, Kev, I like the way you broke that game down, and I'm hoping that 3-1 scoreline is correct, because that'll get me over the Arsenal team total, and it'll get the game over the total as well. All right, we are going to head into some domestic league action, and we're going to obviously go to the Olimpico in Roma for the Lazio-Roma game. These ones are heated affairs at the best of times. They're pretty much always heated affairs, especially with the ultras for both teams. Looking at the odds on this one, Lazio plus 175 at home. The draws plus 207. Roma plus 180. This is pretty much even straight down the line. Again, it should have been Pavlos and I. And if you guys want to offer something after I'm done, you can. But, when I look at this game, these are two teams separated right now by a couple points in those top four spots. Lazio has one. Roma's on the outside looking in for those Champions League spots. And I think Lazio is where they are right now, because surprisingly, they've been very good defensively this season. Only Napoli, who sit atop the league right now, have a better defensive record. And Roma's not that far behind as far as playing well defensively. And that's probably why the total is where it's at right now, even though it's at, I think, 2.5 or 2.25 goals. It is shaded to the under. I'm playing the contrarian in this one. These are two teams that are playing today, the time of taping on Thursday, in both the Europa League and the Europa Conference League, both playing away games. So with travel coming home, I don't think the defenses are going to be as tight as we would believe. And even though 4 of the last 5 meetings between these two have resulted in one team winning with a clean sheet, last year there was a pretty high-scoring game between these two, and I think we're going to see something similar here. I think both teams find the score sheet, and that both teams to score is plus money on the yes, and that's where I'm going to go here. Both teams to score in this one very well could stay under the total and end up in a 1-1 draw, with the teams sharing the points but getting us the plus money on the BTTS yes play on this one. Guys, I know you haven't looked at this game as you guys weren't scheduled to play this, but any thoughts on this game? I know Pavlos, if he was here right now, would say yellow cards. You got to bet the yellow cards, because these are two teams that do not like each other. The fan bases do not like each other. They share a stadium. They might not want to share the points. Any thoughts on this game, guys? Or shall we move on to El Clasico?
Just a couple of quick points, Carm. You mentioned Lazio being so surprisingly good defensively, and that's key because, coming into the season, we knew they were going to regress offensively. There hadn't been a side in Europe over the last 2-3 seasons that had overperformed on XG more than Lazio. And you look at the underlying metrics with these two sides. Lazio, yeah, they're ahead in the table, but Roma, they've got an expected goal difference of about plus 25. Lazio only plus 7. So I think Roma is the better side. I think Roma is one of the more underperforming sides, not just in Serie A, but in all of Europe. I like Roma, actually, to get the job done here, would be my initial lead.
2-1 Roma.
I prefer them.
2-1 Roma. Go 2-1 Roma, and we're good, right? So 2-1 gets me my both teams to score, and everyone's happy with that one. Guys, before we go on to the last game, which these two fine gentlemen are going to be breaking down, I want to mention that promo, it has been extended until Sunday night, the ST200 promo. If you use the code ST200, you can get 90 days from any of the cappers on today's show for only $299. It's regularly $499, but that ST200 will get $200 off of that. So you're basically getting 3 months for $300, $100 a month, and that's going to take you to the end of the domestic league seasons in Europe. It's going to get you some MLS plays for the next 3 months, of course, and it's going to take you to the end of all the competitions, the Europa Conference League, the Europa League, and, of course, the Champions League tournament. It'll take you right through to the finals. So that's a great deal. Take advantage of it over at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. All right, guys, let's get into the final game on today's card. It is Barcelona and Roma. Sorry, Barcelona and Roma, my God. Barcelona and Real Madrid. Pavlos has thrown me right off. Barcelona plus 111 at home. The draw is plus 261. And Real Madrid plus 239. Bryan, I'm going to go to you first on this one. One thing I think we need to look at is what the lineups will look like just as far as Real Madrid, because if you watched yesterday's game, we saw Benzema limp off in that game. So whether he's match fit for this game on Sunday remains to be seen. He's a big part of that team, obviously. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, the spot favors Barcelona, and it's a tantalizing price, isn't it, guys? Because, as you just mentioned, Real Madrid just had to finish off some business in the Champions League. Interesting, when you look at this season versus last season in La Liga, Real Madrid actually has the better expected goal difference and more expected points compared to Barcelona this season. It was the reverse last season when Real Madrid won the league. Barcelona was actually ahead on expected goal difference and had a higher expected point total. I think with Real Madrid, when you focus on the La Liga results, what's key is they came back from deficits a lot last season. They have trailed in fewer matches this season than they had last, 6 versus 11. Now, obviously, we're only 70% of the way through this season. But the key for Real Madrid last year, guys, they ended up picking up 17 points from matches in which they trailed. That's quite a bit. This year, just 7. So they're not rallying, and I think that ultimately is what's going to decide the league, that Real Madrid maybe had some good fortune go their way last season. This year, certainly, Barcelona has established itself as the team to beat in Spain. I'm punting on the side here, guys, and let's look at the total. And now that we've slayed this Chelsea over dragon last week on the program, let's try with Barcelona and see how crazy we can get here, because, as you know, the defensive numbers for Barcelona are just unreal. 19 clean sheets in 25 matches. They've conceded only 8 times all season, but who was responsible for 3 of them? Back in October, it was Real Madrid. And the fact is, Barcelona is just due for some defensive aggression, guys, if for no other reason than they can't possibly be any more stingy. The number of expected goals allowed in the league, 20.6. This year, that's a 12-goal difference between actual and expected. Not just the largest in all of La Liga, but it is the second largest difference in any of Europe's Big 5 leagues. Fulham number 1, in case if you were wondering. Barcelona has gotten some revenge on Real Madrid. They win the Spanish Super Cup over in Saudi Arabia. Then they take the first leg of the Copa del Rey semi. I expect goals in this one, guys. Both teams to score, a bit juicy. It's at minus 155. So I'm going to say, let's just hope for that third goal and take the over. I was surprised, like a lot of people were, how low scoring yesterday's Real Madrid-Liverpool match was. Keep in mind, for Barcelona, they had no Lewandowski in that Copa del Rey semifinal. So he's going to be back on the pitch. I think somehow, some way, guys, we get to 3 goals here, and an over, the elusive over with Barcelona hits. Let's roll the dice and have some fun with it. Over's the call.
Love it. Let's roll the dice. And, as far as this game goes, before I go to Kevin on this one, if you enjoy this game on Sunday, the great thing about it is you get to see it again in a couple weeks' time, as they'll play leg 2 right back here at Camp Nou for leg 2 of the Copa del Rey. Barcelona won that first one at the Bernabeu 1-0. Listen, how can we not end this show with this game speaking to the King of England? Sorry, not England, the King of Spain. Pavlos has me. He's got me ruined today with the errors today. Kev, what do you got here?
Well, I think everyone was a little bit surprised by that first Copa del Rey result a couple of weeks ago, Carmine. No Lewandowski, as Bryan mentioned. I favoured Madrid in that game. But they just couldn't convert. 102 dangerous attacks to 22. They pretty much dominated the majority of the action. But they never recovered from that early on goal by Militao at the back. And, I like Barcelona to repeat that victory from a couple of weeks ago in this one as well. Madrid, as Bryan mentioned, they're on a short week. They're short-handed at the back as well, with Alaba and Mendy sidelined as well. And what Bryan also mentioned, they face a Barcelona team here that just have been unreal at home this season. That's even an understatement. They've allowed just one goal at home all season. That's just phenomenal. I believe Inter are number 2, but even they're at 6. Bayern Munich, PSG on 11 and 15 goals respectively in that same category. So, regression, as we all know, taxes, death. It's definitely incoming for Barcelona, but I'm not sure whether it'll happen in this game. Barcelona haven't actually won a game at home against Madrid going all the way back to 2019, which is fairly interesting considering the size of these two teams. Real Madrid have won both of the recent league meetings at the Nou Camp, but with the way Barcelona have been playing at home this season, at least domestically, the fact they have no European distractions, plus the fact those injuries at the back, still plaguing this Madrid backline. I believe we see the Catalan side put this title race to bed this weekend, and Barcelona finally get the win at home.
All right. There you have it, guys. 4 games: Freiburg, Juventus, Arsenal, Sporting, Lazio, Roma in the Roma Derby, and of course El Clasico, Barcelona and Real Madrid. We're going to be back on Tuesday. We'll probably be talking some domestic league action for midweek. And I'm looking forward to, maybe we'll discuss some of those the draws that come out tomorrow for the Champions League, and hopefully some great pairings, and we'll have a look at the futures odds as well. Bryan, I'm going to go to you first. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk, and we'll have a look at your leans on today's show.
Yeah, there will be plenty of domestic league action, guys, over the weekend starting Friday, but today is all about the NCAA tournament. Got plays tipping off in that first window. You can head over, you get a 5% play that I've got in round 1. I'm 11-3 with 5%, all 5% plays, all sports since late December. And then college hoops is really running hot right now. 70% run, 14-6 our last 20, up 44.5 units since late January, which is when the NFL was winding down, really kicked it up a notch. And it was a 2-0 sweep in college hoops yesterday. Just an update on me. As soon as we're done here, I head around the corner into the basement. That is where I will be all day watching college hoops. But then tomorrow, I will get in my car and make the 5.5-hour trek to upstate New York, where I will indeed be part of the WagerTalk East Coast meet and greet at the Turning Stone Resort. So if you're in the area, please drop by. I know Adam Trigger's going to be there. There will be many others there. It'll be a good time. And I guess I'll have to wait until the summer to see you guys in Vegas. But looking forward to that just as much.
Yeah, I'm jealous. And listen, good luck with your obviously plays and March Madness. I know it's going to be a big time for you and a lot of action for you. I'll see you and Kev in Vegas, obviously in August for that one. Kev, let us know what you have up at WagerTalk.
Yes, definitely looking forward to Vegas in August. St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, obviously, so we still got that promo Lucky Up, which runs until this Sunday, gets $122 off a 30-day all-access pass. Running pretty well, as we said last time. We went 4-2, 3-1 in NBA. We've got an NBA 2-pack up for tonight as well, as well as a Europa League play as well. So, yeah, as always, definitely a great time to jump on board, and we'll have our European domestic league action out by tomorrow.
All right, looks good, and I wish you all the best as well, too. I'll see you on Tuesday, of course. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow on Puck Time, as you'll be making an appearance on St. Paddy's Day on Puck Time. So I look forward to having you there. And speaking of Puck Time, top of the hour. So if you're online watching this one, hang around for Puck Time Andy Lang will be on the show with myself and Andrew McInnes. For myself, 4 plays up for me today in the Europa League, and a big NHL card tonight. So with 5 plays currently loaded and a couple more plays to follow. So maybe pick up the one-day all-access $39 and get all plays today. And there's my leans on there. We'll see you guys next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thanks for tuning in, guys. For myself, Brian, and Kevin, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck with your wagers.
What's happening, guys? And another greatest day of the year coming up this Friday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, obviously. We're offering up a huge discount over at WagerTalk right now to get my 30-day all-access pass for only $5.90 per day. That's every play across every sport, including all 5% top plays as well. So use code LUCKY, L-U-C-K-Y, LUCKY at checkout to take advantage of that special offer, which knocks a massive $122 off the regular price. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. Make sure and stock up on the Guinness and Jameson ahead of Friday. And until next time, as always, Slán Abhaile.